Revolution Radio proudly presents, live from the heart of the Blue Ridge, Roanoke, Virginia. It's the Just Bernard Show with host Bernard Alvarez. Join Bernard as he shares topics that reveal the real matrix and empower your human experience, including world liberty, the esoteric, suppressed technologies, spiritual ascension, and human consciousness. Humanity has awakened, and our time has come to realize our full potential. And now, live from the Star City, your host, Bernard Alvarez.
So let me tell you all a bit about my guest today, if you don't know. First of all, I have very fond memories of Portal to Ascension from, years ago, being a part of the Facebook group. I'm sure many of you have been as well. Neil Gaur is the founder of Portal to Ascension. It's an outlet for all things consciousness. He creates and produces workshops and seminars on a range of conscious topics with many renowned and up-and-coming presenter. In his online platform, he is connected to hundreds of thousands of people worldwide, creating a constant source of awareness to assist in the paradigm shift we are currently undergoing. His next production is the Full Disclosure Online Summit. It's going to be a 5-day webinar that delves into all aspects of the nature of our reality and the cosmos in order to disclose hidden truths. And it sounds fascinating and exactly something that I would want to watch. Anyway, so let me welcome and bring Neil onto the show here. Hi, Neil. Welcome.
Hey, Bernard. How are you, brother? Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you, too. I'm doing pretty good today, after updating my software. You know how that goes, I'm sure. Yeah. Anyway, Neil, my goodness, we both have been doing this work for years and years, and I mean, I remember you when you first started out, and it was Ilya with you when you first started?
Yeah, when we first started, well, actually, it first started in 2008. I met Ilya at the end of the year, and then he joined forces with me right when it started. So we were doing events together for around 3 years.
Wow.
Until 2012.
Wow. Well, you're one of the success stories that I like to talk about because so many of us who started back then, I mean, I remember, what was it, like Exposing the Truth, Collective Evolution, you guys,
right.
Light Workers of the World, and so many of these pages have blossomed into something that is really maintaining its force and moving forward,
right.
The momentum. And it's just so great that, we've seen so many people drop off or just stop doing this work. And to have you still around is really an honor, and I'm so glad that you're still a part of this work with us. So thank you. Tell us a little bit. Let's start with the beginning a little bit because I'm curious. What brought this to you? What was it that inspired you to create? Was it the Facebook group first? Was that the first thing?
Yeah. So basically, I'll give you a little summary of from birth up until Portal to Ascension because that's a long story.
Oh, okay.
But it all started when I was born, right? I basically I was born in England. I was born in London, England, and I was raised there until I was age 12, and then I moved over here with my family to Irvine, California. And when I moved here, I didn't have any family. All I had was friends, and I made my friends family, and through that I had this kind of a disconnect. I didn't really feel like I belonged to any community, and while I was a child and growing up anyway, I always felt kind of like there was something off. And when I started going to high school, I was just a regular high school kid, and then I graduated at age 18, and when I went to Cal State Fullerton, I actually started doing some research on just random religious scriptures and just things to kind of fall into my own box of what Hinduism is, because I was raised a Hindu, but I never really followed any of the traditions. I just did what my parents told me to do because it was just a rite and a ritual as a Hindu growing up in the US just did in order to appease his family. So when I started researching some videos, I came across Nassim Haramein, Jordan Maxwell, Jim Self, those three individuals, and hundreds of hours of footage, everything I could find from them. I was just watching and watching, and I found about this civilization called the Sumerians and their connection to this race of beings called the Anunnaki.
Hmm.
So while I was researching that, I found out there's information about quantum physics, that the serpent in the Sumerian scriptures was talking about quantum physics and science, and there were images that were reflecting wormholes, and I was always into that kind of information, and I was like, wait a second, this is thousands of years old, older than the Bible. There's stories in here that are verbatim taken from the Bible. The only thing is, instead of saying alien, it says the name of the prophet. So either I believe that all religion and the number one religion that's kind of swept over the world, Christianity, is completely false, or that this religion comes from a even older scripture that's connected to the cosmos somehow and extraterrestrials, right? And through that, I found my own religion again. I started kind of comparing notes to the Bhagavad Gita. I would go to Panera Bread every day with my friend. We'd go work out, and then we'd go to the Panera Bread, and I'd have the Bhagavad Gita laid out on one side. I'd have the Christian Bible and the Old Testament on the other side, and I would be comparing notes and connecting the dots and finding out all this information. So this leads me into the creation of Portal to Ascension. In around 2008, I wanted to know more information and connect with like-minded people. I really didn't know too many of those people at that point. So I created an online group called 2012 Consciousness, Mind Evolution, and Presence. And the whole purpose for it was just for people to join and start sharing information, because even though I put the word 2012 in there, I didn't even know what 2012 truly meant until maybe 1 to 2 years after that, when I started researching everything. So that group started growing. We started having, in 2008 to 2009, thousands of people join. By 2010, I created Portal to Ascension Canada, Portal to Ascension New York, Portal to Ascension England, Portal to Ascension Spain, then Seattle, Portland. So I had separate groups because it was expanding so much. So I figured, why don't we create local groups where people can start communicating with themselves?
Hmm.
So I missed one key thing that I want to mention, that the name actually morphed from 2012 consciousness, mind evolution, and presence to Portal to Ascension over a period of 2 years. I actually had like 2 or 3 dreams where I was told to change the name, and then in 2010, Portal to Ascension was created. It was actually became an organization that we started doing small events. So in 2010, we started small meditation events, sound healing events, and then ultimately that kept building in momentum. We had more and more people join us, and we started creating conferences. And our first 2 conferences that we ever created, which was our milestone conferences, was 2012 Cosmic Reunion in 2012,
Hmm. I remember.
and then we had Fourth Density in March of 2013, and I think that's the time when we connected, because I was on your radio show like maybe twice. Miriam
Yep.
Delicado was with us,
Yep.
and so 2012 was really where we stopped becoming just a random group of people that wanted to do meditation events for hobby, to realizing that, oh wow, we've created such a big pool with what we're doing, and we have such a huge network. Why don't we start reaching out to these presenters and creating conferences? So that's the story of how we came about.
That's fantastic, and gosh, I have so many parallels with that. It seems to me like so many of us during that time just had these, I don't know if we want to call it cosmic download or whatnot. I mean, even
Yeah.
myself with when I was doing Global Illumination Council, that word came to me through a dream. They told me to change it to Global Illumination Council, but it's just interesting that so much of that happened around that same time. So,
Right.
do you feel, in your experience and what you've seen, let's jump right in here and call it what it is, the global awakening. Have
Yeah.
you seen a global awakening? I know you've been a part of it. What is your idea of what this global awakening is? Is it paranormal? Is it extraterrestrial? Is it just a
Yeah.
part of human evolution, or a little bit of everything?
I would say it's a bit of everything. And I do believe there's a huge awakening going on. And I've had moments where I'm like, oh, nothing's changing, because I'm looking at what's going on in the world, and I see that. But if I really look at it, when we started in 2008, this was, I mean, it's alternative now, but back then it was extremely new age, woo woo, esoteric. And it seems like there's been this whole movement to move and break through the information that we're bringing forth into the mainstream. And there's all these individuals now that are on mainstream stations and shows. We have Ancient Aliens. We
Yeah.
have, I mean, come on, like, it's one of the number one shows on History Channel, and everybody's watching it. And even though at times they don't say alien, it was aliens, but they like allude to it, like
Right.
could this be aliens? Those individuals do full on workshops where they're saying yes, it is aliens. Those are the people that are on those shows, you know.
Yeah.
So there is definitely an awakening happening. And even when I cross paths with people and I say information, just like something esoteric, like I would just say, "Oh, everything happens for a reason," like something as simple as that, right? To something even more complicated. It seems like people resonate with it a little more than they used to. So I feel all the corruption, all the collapsing of the old systems that's happening in the world is making people start realizing what joins us together and what unites us. So that is really what it's about. It's not about actually knowing the like galactic history of humanity, even though that's one of the most fun topics for me.
Right.
But it's really truly knowing that we're part of a greater cosmos and we're all connected. So the awakening doesn't have to do with knowing everything on the level that we know. The awakening just has to do with, I would say, service to others, right? Like being of service to others while
Yes.
taking care of yourself, right? And then also living a higher vibratory life. So what is going on right now is when the vibration increases, the darkness, the shadow that casts it gets even longer. So we're seeing all the darkness come to the surface because the vibration is bringing it out. So I don't see anything right now as going wrong in the world. I see everything as going exactly according to plan.
I couldn't agree with you more, Neil. It's funny. I forgot who it was. I believe it was Anelia Benz. You remember her? She's
Yeah,
still
for
she's
sure.
still working very hard as well.
Yeah.
And I remember having her on a couple years ago, and she was saying that 2017 was like the end of this particular, I guess, chapter of the global awakening or whatnot. Not meaning
Hmm.
that the awakening's over, but we're moving to the next phase.
Yeah.
And I feel that. I mean, I feel that 2017. I'm sure you've read my posts. It's been very uncomfortable. It's
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
like a tearing away of the fabric of that which I considered my material world or my identity and the way that I identified with this world, and it's all kind of like being swirled, like kicking up the dust again. And we're
Wow.
seeing a
Wow.
lot of that. I'm seeing it with many of my close friends. I'm seeing it with a lot of people that do this work. And well, we're seeing it with what's happening, globally and internationally, and especially here in the United States with all the chaos that we seem to be experiencing.
Right.
And for me, I always say it's a part of the birthing process, and you're going through the birth canal when it hurts. When you're uncomfortable, that means that we're ascending. We're
Yeah,
ascending,
yeah.
and
I completely agree. I've been going through almost verbatim what you're saying has happened this year has been happening to me too. Like I feel like I'm grounded in what I know I got to do, but at the same time I'm completely confused and my belief systems are being shifted like every
yes.
second.
Yes, and that's another aspect. Our belief
Hmm.
systems seem to change. Um, so actually, let's talk about that for just a second because I do believe it's very important for us to not get stuck in our belief system. That we do our journey to ascension has to do with peeling away our belief systems and maybe embracing a new way of how we interact with the world. I know, and I wonder if maybe you could touch on this, how perhaps maybe, 2007, 2008, I was more concerned with, the secret societies, destroying the
Yeah.
planet and whatnot. And
Right.
now my focus has just shifted into, oh, yeah, I already get that. I understand that. But what are we going to do about it? Let's expand our consciousness. And now my work has been focusing on consciousness. But I will
Right.
say, letting go of those beliefs or those priorities can be a little bit difficult. How has that process been for you? The letting go of old beliefs, and what can you maybe suggest to help people to adjust to that new frequency?
Yeah. It's been fairly easy for me to shift my beliefs because I'm always open to new ideas. And throughout my life, I would say that I've kind of accepted the paradox that it is this and that. It's never just one way.
Yeah.
It's everything, right? So I would say the key thing is if your belief systems make you become a victim to something. So if you have a belief that like the government, the Illuminati is doing this to you, and now you're a victim to it, that in essence is the lower vibratory state, and you can really become an empowered individual like that. So all information that is leading you to become a victim, I would say is key to shift out of. And the
Uh,
way you do that, the way I did it was through years of just reflecting on myself. And I think I'm a little overly critical because at times I get depressed because I just reflect on myself too much because I expect so much out of myself. So, like I would say that the best thing is really, especially doing this work, like I feel hypocritical if I don't live the way I feel like I'm all the stuff I'm portraying. So I would say that right now that even me going through all of this for like I started waking up, if you can call it that, in
Hmm.
2000. Going through all of this right now, in the last 3 months, I've completely realized that everything I know is something that I may not even know at all. Right?
Yeah.
I'm now, and I thought for the last since 2012 at least that I knew like this race this race that, and this is where we came from, this is what we're here to do. But now I'm just like this reality could be an artificial simulation and I really don't even know, you know? Like I really truly don't know what is happening. All I know is that we are not we're not living the way we could live on this planet. We're not living in harmony with ourselves, the universe, and each other. So the only thing that I want to portray, and through every event that we do, even though it's like we talk about all types of topics, the end result is for the empowerment, so that you feel that with this information you have some sort of identity and you have this heritage, this galactic heritage that is something not to be proud of. There's no ego involved in it, but something to really embrace and integrate in ourselves so that we can live like that on this planet together.
Here, here. And you know, you touched on something that struck a nerve with me because I've had that same aha moment of back in the days of remember the Galactic Federation of Light and the Pleiadians and the Arcturians and whatnot, and hearing all this talk about this galactic struggle and galactic wars over human spirit and etc. etc.
Yeah.
I started realizing maybe it was a part of my frequency shift was that this is also an illusion. That the moment that I try to, well, a great example is Joseph Campbell used to tell a story, may he rest in peace, but he used to tell a story about God and the devil walking down the street, and God sees a bright shining light, and he goes, "Ah, truth." And the devil said, "Here, give it to me. I'll organize it." And so it goes right to that thing of when we think we get it, we the one moment we get it is when we need to transcend it. I guess is what I got out of that.
Right, right.
You know. Um, anyway, so let's move on and talk a little bit more about Portal to Ascension. How many? Well, you don't have to. If you don't know off the top of your head, it's okay. How
Yes.
many of these conferences have you had, and can you share with us a little bit, maybe some of your favorite presenters that you've had on so far?
Sure. Well, in the last 2.5 years, we've conducted, I would say, at least 70 webinars.
Wow.
And these have been all-day conferences that are 6 to 8 hours long. Some have gone up to 10 hours, where there's 5 different presenters, just like you would go to a one-day conference somewhere,
Hmm.
but all online. Then we do individual workshops with either 2 hour workshop, 3 hour workshop, 4 hours. We just did two in a row with Trisha McCannon, and she's an amazing
Oh
presenter.
yeah, I like her.
She is a wealth of knowledge, and I got to plug her really quick because we're actually going to do more webinars with her this year than anyone we've ever worked with, because she has like over 200 presentations on everything that I could ever be into. So,
Wow.
really great information there. We have Divine Sophia and Mary Magdalene, the return of the Divine Sophia and Mary Magdalene, coming up on March 4th with her. And we just did Giants, Fairies, and Strange Archaeology, and Angels, Anunnaki, and ET Visitations. Those are the last two topics. Now
Oh
we
wow.
William Henry we've done around 5 workshops with, 4 hour workshops, and he actually creates presentations just for our platform because it's such a good way to get out there and also bring in the income he needs in order to continue his research without having to like fly places. So we also offer that to people. And Stephen Greer, we've done around 6 events with, and we actually have a different component of our business now where we have Portal to Ascension webinars, and then we have Stream of Consciousness, which is the Portal to Ascension live streaming, where we now have a crew of people on state of the art equipment to travel anywhere in the world and actually stream people. So we're Stephen
Wow.
Greer's exclusive streaming people. So whenever he does an event, we go there and just stream it to our
Oh
platform.
wow. Very
Yeah.
cool.
And then I would say Jamie Janover, I would say, is one of my favorite presenters. We've done ancient civilizations with him. He's actually the lead emissary for Nassim Haramein, so he's the one out there spreading the information on the unified field theory. And we would do probably, I would say, maybe one conference a month, sometimes one every 2 months. But right now, we're actually going into individual workshops more than anything. And the goal really is that where I see Portal to Ascension heading is that right now we do maybe 3 webinars a month. by the end of next year, by the end of 2018, is my goal that I want to become an online university for all things consciousness with daily webinars on all topics. Because the purpose for Portal to Ascension is when more and more individuals wake up, and there could even be a spontaneous awakening with the vibration of the planet increasing, that I jokingly have said for years now that when people are walking around with like chickens with their heads cut off, right? Like what's going on?
Yeah.
Banking system's gone, monetary system's gone. Like because this financial system cannot continue the way it's going to happen. Something's going to happen in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
When that happens, that's why you, myself, and everybody watching here are the way showers. That's why they call us the light workers. The way shower means we're here to show the way. No ego involved in that. We're here. We've just been. We just chose to wake up a little earlier than our brothers and sisters that chose not to, so that when their experiences of waking up, we're here to tell them the information, to show them the way to everything. So Portal to Ascension is going to become that, and with nonstop information. We even have a membership component now, kind of like Netflix, where you can join as a member for 6 months to a year, and you watch all the webinars that we do live for free during that time with the membership cost. And you can go into our archives on our back end, just like Netflix. You can stream all of our webinars, unlimited replay access.
Oh, that's fantastic. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I could have used that 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, right. So
We all could
could
have. Yeah, we all could have.
That's why I created it. I was like, oh, man, I could have used this 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I don't even watch my webinars like I used to watch it really, really hardcore, but now I'm so focused on the production side. I have so much footage, I haven't even got to watch everything.
I know the feeling. I've actually been going back and recycling my greatest hits, so to speak, so I can actually sit back and watch my my work. So I know the feeling of that. So we've only got about 4 minutes left on this segment before the break, but ever so quickly, if you can help us define what the word ascension means. So many people have so much confusion around that word, and the main one that we were hearing a few years ago was, the UFOs are going to come and take us away, like the rapture or something like that, and. I don't know. I don't feel that's a component of it, but I'm interested in what is your definition of ascension.
Yeah, I would say ascension for me is more of a broader topic. I have actually had people reach out to me in the past, or I've reached out to and told them my name, and they didn't want to work with us just because we had the word ascension, because of the way they felt around it, because they had those belief systems that they were just this and this and this, and since that's not really happening, or they don't believe in that one thing, it's not the case. Right. But ascension really is a higher vibration. What is a frequency? Say we have 1 hertz and now we have 200 hertz. You just increase your hertz level to 200 hertz. So to me, the ascension is just a dimensional shift, a paradigm shift. So the portal to ascension is that there's an etheric wormhole right now, right outside planet Earth, and Earth is just right in the middle of it, going through into the next dimension. And the ascension is just simply that, us moving into a higher octave of existence so that we can live in harmony with everything in our universe.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Thank you. I find that much more comforting than some of the other definitions I've heard.
Yeah.
But and it is so much more, and hopefully we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that after the break. Neil, can you share with everybody the Portal to Ascension website, the group? Where can people find this work?
Sure. Well, our website is portaltoascension.org, portaltoascension.org, and even if you Google it and misspell it, it will autocorrect you, so no worries.
Oh, good.
And so portaltoascension.org, and our Facebook page is Portal to Ascension. We also have Facebook groups, Portal to Ascension 1, 2, and different groups for different areas of the world. So just go to Facebook, type in Portal to Ascension. We have an Instagram, a YouTube channel where we're constantly putting out clips of all our webinars, and just every week we have 5 new clips, so check that out as well.
Wow, 5 new clips. That's a lot of work. I know.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm glad, actually, that you clarified all the different groups on Facebook, because I was actually looking for the quote-unquote main group, and I saw the other groups, and I'm like, oh, are these copies? Are people copying him? You know how they do that, It's like, okay, well, you don't really own this group. But so they are basically maintained through the Portal to Ascension group.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, very, very good. Very good. Anyway, guys, we're going to be taking a commercial break in just a second. I just want to remind everybody that for those of you that have been following my work over the years, I've just discovered Patreon. So if you'd like to support this show and you'd like to support the work I'm doing, please head over to patreon.com/Bernard Alvarez, and we'll be right back after this break.
And now, back to your host, Bernard Alvarez.
And welcome back to the Just Bernard Show here on Revolution Radio. We are the world's largest listener-supported radio station. So please, if you can, make a donation at freedomslips.com. If you happen to make a donation to Revolution Radio, just send them a little note and tell them that you are listening or watching the Just Bernard Show. Anyway, thank you for that. And let's talk a little bit about, how do I say this? The paradigm, for lack of a better term. And the reason why I'm saying it like that is we have so many people that don't necessarily understand the idea of cosmic energy, whether it be, we talk about cosmic downloads, we talk about universal life force energy, we talk about planetary energy, we talk about, the center of the universe and wormholes and portals, and people get a little, what's the word I'm looking for, intimidated by all this terminology. I know people that don't understand how astrology works and the energies of the planets and how it affects us. Can you give us kind of like what your take on it is? What is, this cosmic energy? How do we receive it? What's, is it vibration? What's your take?
I would say it's two things. Firstly, what I was taught when I was actually being growing up and through studying astronomy is that every planetary body and celestial body in our galaxy and our universe and multiverse even really is giving off a form of radiation that is affecting our planet, our experience on this planet. If a sun supernovas and then a million years later that energy hits our planet and that day happens to be now, there would be something that happens energetically on a planet that could create a shift in the way somebody lives their life, could create thoughts, could even help shift a whole ideology politically on this planet. That even mainstream science has proven that we're puppets to the universe. But the paradox is that we also create the universe, that we are made out of frequencies, and on the subatomic level, all made out of the same exact vibrations. Each of these atoms that are vibrating creates its own electromagnetic aura, if you will. And electromagnetic frequency around us is the actual aura. The aura is a metaphysical word. Electromagnetics is the scientific word, and even the Earth has it. Through that, we're constantly sharing information. Through increasing our own vibration, through meditation, yoga, holistic healing, even eating very well, we're able to fine-tune our energy field and actually communicate with others, even have telepathy, or how, as Bashar says, telepathy, because it's actually using empathy to communicate. And we're able to send energy to other people. Ultimately, science is now proving that it seems like this is a computer program that we may not to make it seem like we're lesser than, but it's almost like we're a bunch of ones and zeros. And through that, we're able to actually tap into this universal consciousness because it is a program. And through that, we're able to communicate with each other, send messages all over the universe, and even receive signals from other places in the universe that are being sent to us. So ultimately, I feel, to answer your question, that it's very much a science, that we are in a realm of frequencies, and all these frequencies are constantly affecting us, and each frequency can even represent different dimensions of experiences. I feel that there are countless individuals, entities, collective consciousnesses sharing the same space as me, and utilizing me and my being and my essence for whatever agendas that they have. And it seemed like such an esoteric thing to say for quite some time, but I feel that the science of quantum physics is bringing people into understanding that a lot of this esoteric wisdom can actually be true.
Oh, I couldn't agree more, and thank you for saying that. The idea, and I believe it was Aleister Crowley of all people who said it, that magic is just merely science that hasn't been proven yet.
Exactly.
And we're seeing more and more of that. And you're right. I just recently posted an article where they kind of discovered that everything is kind of like programmed, like you said. And even though we may have free will, a lot of the energy is kind of already being put into play. And that kind of answers a lot of questions when it comes, for me individually, as far as the difference between fate, karma, energy, and free will. And it kind of like brought a balance to that. So I do agree that this is more scientific, and it's just now starting to come to light. And perhaps, all these things we thought were paranormal or supernatural are
Mhm.
merely just nature that we're now starting to finally understand.
Right.
Totally. Um, with that being said, uh, tell me, if have you Neil have had any type of contact with extraterrestrial and or transdimensional? What has been your experience with any other type of consciousness, perhaps? Have you had like cosmic downloads? What's been your experience?
So I would say yes, I have had cosmic downloads, and I'm only owning it now through via help from my wife, who I've kept saying for so long. It's been my mantra, like, I want an experience. I don't get experiences. So so she's like, you do get experiences. Remember this time? But it's actually been like more like I would say a direct channel where I feel that it's integrated into me, and everything that I'm doing is for this new paradigm that we're creating. That I've had actual dreams that where I've been in stasis and on in the spacecraft coming to Earth, and actually having being a part of a war on Maldek. I've had dreams like that that have been reoccurring, that have made me realize that this is actually a reality. And I've also had experiences where I've accidentally astral traveled, and one time I astral traveled to Titan's moon, and I always had this connection when I was going to channeling events and asking Bashar questions, Adronis questions, extraterrestrial beings questions. That I had this connection to Titan, and in a different dimension, I actually exist on that planet, on that moon. And then one day, I just like found myself astral traveling on Titan, looking at Saturn's moon, like being affected by the gravity, and that to me was my message.
Oh,
I've done plant medicines a few times where I've had the question of like, what's going on? Why am I not getting experiences? And the what I would get in return was that I need to deal with my physical relationships here on this planet first before I get those experiences. And there is something in me doing this before I have direct communication. So I've had communication through dream state, through astral state, but I haven't had like direct communication like a lot of individuals that we work with who are experiences that have been on board all the on board actual spacecraft.
right.
I've actually like I used to think that I wasn't. I used to say to my wife when we first got together that I'm on autopilot for consciousness. Like no matter no matter how depressed I am, no matter what happens in my, because I've been a really depressed person, and I've gone like through a lot of issues mentally that I've shifted out of, and I'm still shifting out of. But even when I was doing that, I was like full throttle, like spreading awareness, doing events that are getting out to thousands of people. And I was like, no matter what I do, like I cannot do anything else. It's like I've been programmed to do this. So for a long time, I was like, I'm just gonna be how I feel most emotionally, and I'm just gonna continue doing this work. And now I'm finally at a stage where I feel I've done a lot of that personal work. That once I've done that and I've raised my vibration, I'm able to have more of those direct communication experiences.
Yeah, yeah. Boy, can I relate to that.
Yep.
I, one of my jokes is that I don't remember volunteering for this, but they're obviously not going to let me go anywhere. They just keep shaking me around, and you're going here, you're doing that, and
Yeah.
the universe unfolds, and I get shoved through a door, and there you go.
Yeah, exactly, man.
And you don't have time for
It's crazy.
depression or anxiety or anything. Just keep working, keep working.
I
I can relate.
I actually quit. I quit Portal to Ascension in 8 years of have doing Portal to Ascension. I quit it 4 times, meaning like I got to a point where I'm like, I'm done with this stuff. Like universe, I'm done with like I had this whole
Yeah.
argument with extraterrestrials and the universe in my head, saying like I'm done with this. Like I can't do this anymore. It's like I need to get a job. I'm like finishing college. I need to do well in life and all that. And but then every time I went to a regular job, I would like find a way to sabotage myself to
Yeah.
get fired or just to leave because it was never anything that was happy for me. So every time I left Portal to Ascension through like the most amazing synchronicities that definitely could not be just a coincidence, I was always led back to doing this work. The last time I quit was in 2013 or 2014 after the last Cosmic Reunion, because what happened was is we took out loans to do those events.
Mm.
We actually were after the last Cosmic Reunion, my wife and myself were homeless because we couldn't afford our rent because we took out loans to put on these events. And my wife was getting upset at me. She was like, I didn't sign up for missionary work. Right. And then so I was like talking to my friend, I was like, I'm quitting. And through my friend actually resurrecting it and saying like, no, you can't quit, and actually helping out us out financially so we can reinvest in the Portal to Ascension. Portal to Ascension was resurrected once again, but it would not have become what it is now. 2013 was the end of it all if it wasn't for that seed money that came in that kind of sparked us to be able to create this online platform.
Right, right. Well, I'm so glad that that happened. And
Me
I could
too.
tell stories about me quitting 1,000 times as well. And and it's right. The universe. Thank goodness the universe does unfold. If and I say this half jokingly, but I don't. Universe, you want us to do this work. You got to make sure we have a roof over our head and food in
Yeah.
our stomach. It's like we all, those of us that are like the most popular out there, are the ones that are always struggling, and
Yeah.
it's just crazy. We need to create with a galactic fund of light workers or something.
Right.
But
No, right.
even though I've heard inklings that something to that effect is taking
Yeah, me
place
too.
behind the scenes, but I'd love to see that unfold eventually.
Yeah.
Um, so we've only got about 10 minutes left. Neil, tell us a little bit about the new disclosure conference that's coming up. Who's going to be on there?
Sure.
What day is it going to be? How much are the tickets? Tell us a little bit more about
Yes.
the exciting conference.
All right. So the backstory of the conference is we actually did two conferences last year in 2016 called the Extraterrestrial Disclosure Online Summit. Miriam Delicado, a good friend of both of ours, was in both of those events.
Yeah.
And the first one was a 3-day event, I think April of last year, and then the second one was a 4-day event. So which is from us doing 1-day conferences to going to 3 to 4 days was a huge feat for us, and they did very, 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 very well, and we had amazing speakers.
Yeah.
So as this last year was ending, there was a lot of information on full disclosure, and also I have been saying the word full disclosure for a year because when I talk about disclosure, it's full disclosure, and what does full disclosure mean? It means disclosure of everything that has not been disclosed to us.
Right.
So I was like, okay, let's not concentrate on the extraterrestrial disclosure anymore. Plus, we're Portal to Ascension, and I've kind of branded the ET thing really hardcore with us. So let's do full disclosure, which we can touch on every aspect of who we are. Full disclosure, disclosure of our true ancient origins, our galactic history, and how cosmic our humans' story really is. Full disclosure of advanced technologies that have been hidden from us. Full disclosure of ancient advanced technologies that we know exist that has been hidden from us. Full disclosure of medical advancements, plant remedies such as ayahuasca, iboga, and San Pedro, and more, and how they can actually help cure ailments of the psyche and also cure physical sicknesses. All of this information has been around for thousands of years, has been lost to us, and a lot of it is in plain sight on the internet, but unless you know what to search for, you're not going to find it.
Yep.
So we created the Full Disclosure Summit for that. One of the other topics, two other topics that I'm really excited for is the free energy topic. And I know just like the word ascension, people have actually issue with the word free energy. Let me clarify what that means. Free energy means energy that's free for everyone, not whatever scientific way you're putting it. I mean, free energy that we can have on this planet because we live in an abundant universe full of energy. We are energetic beings. We can charge our own batteries if we wanted to. So it's like we need to part of what's happening on this planet with the income inequality and poverty has a lot to do with the power. Power as in greed, power as in oil, power as in electricity and energy. So free energy devices, we're going to talk about those. Some are going to be practical solutions that actually exist. Other ones are going to be theoretical equations that we're actually getting into creating devices from. So it's going to be a lot of information on that on day one, and also global financial fraud and its consequences on this planet. What happened hundreds of years ago, but around 100 years ago with the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and the central banking system.
Yeah.
We're going to expose all that. And I think that's perfect right now, especially with what just happened with Bernie Sanders releasing more information, Occupy Wall Street a few years before that. Everybody's ready for that. So I think that is actually our key to tapping into the mainstream, starting the day one with the global financial fraud. The way we have structured it is 5 days. So the first day is global financial fraud and free energy. The second day is medical advancements and plant remedies. The third day is our true world history. Fourth day is extraterrestrial awareness. And the fifth day is our spiritual essence. Number 5 is the number of humanity. It's 5 senses that we have. So we actually have it for that reason. But also spirituality is on the last day, because when, just like we were talking earlier, when we talk about global financial fraud and all the manipulation, the corruption, even with true world history that's happened on this planet, it's very easy to get caught into the belief system of we've been taken advantage of, and there's all these conspiracies going around. So the last day is our spiritual essence, so that we can shed light on the bigger picture of what is exactly going on, because all of this is happening the way it's supposed to be. There's no reason to be angry at anyone. We signed up for it. We signed up to experience duality. What does duality represent? Duality represents the extreme separation from source. So hello, that's where we're at right now. We're experiencing extreme separation. So if anything, you got to commend yourself, and you got to commend the Illuminati and everybody else out there for doing the role that they signed up to do. So the fifth day is going to be the spiritual essence, to bring it around full circle, to let everybody know that there's no need to fear, and this is how we shift out of it, by realizing our spiritual nature.
Ah, that's wonderful. What a great, I mean, a very well-rounded program you have prepared
Thank you.
there. I think it touches on everything that I'm concerned about. And I believe it sounds like those that are just quote unquote waking up will get a clear picture of what's really going on. We've all had those awakening. Like each day is like a piece of the awakening. As far as like what I've been through, it's like, oh, now I see, now I get it. And whether it be
Right.
the financial system or energy or healing or whatnot. So that's perfect. I've got a very interesting question that somebody asked, and I know that we have so many people that are confused. Like you said, people are running around with their chicken with their head cut off,
Yep.
seeking answers. And so many times I see people clinging to particular truths that are not true. I don't know. I don't want to go into the whole co-intel disinfo thing
Yeah.
or whatnot. But I'm wondering if, I mean, you're around it all the time. You're around speakers like myself all the time. And for me, I've developed a filter of how to tell how much is BS and how much is real, and but it comes from being around it and the experience. I think I believe it was Laura Eisenhower that said it to me once. She said, "If there are rivets on the spaceship, it's probably not a real spaceship," or something like that. I forgot what it was, But if you're
Right.
seeing nuts and bolts, it's not a real spaceship. But
Right.
I'm wondering, what is your BS filter? Can you share a little bit of for people that to not fall for the wrong types of information and with all that kind of stuff? How do you see through the BS? And
Well, the bottom line rule that I have when I choose speakers is: are they positive? Are they attempting to create a positive solution from what they're saying? What is the end result of it? Or are they saying it's all doom and gloom? And there's been presenters that I won't mention, but there are presenters that say like, "And we're screwed." And then there's other presenters that say like, well, this is how you empower yourself from it. So that's the bottom line. But even within that, there's a lot of other disinformation out there that I know that if I was the powers that be, and I knew this was coming out, I would definitely put people out there in order to sway the public opinion and
yeah.
beliefs. So I'm with you, brother. Like, I'm confused on that aspect, because I know that happens. But one thing I do know is some people that we've actually found to be disinformation individuals, we haven't even worked with, and intuitively I've had this energetic thing with them where I've never had them on a show for 2.5 years. And then all of a sudden I realized this is who they are and what they've been doing, and I'm like, wait a second. Maybe that there is something going on here. I'm getting a connection with who I should work with and who I shouldn't. So there's intuition in it. And then I just do my research. I speak to other speakers about it, and I really like sit down and listen to what they're saying. But ultimately, if you're promoting a positive future, I'm all for it. And when individuals come and start talking about the wars in space and things like that, I look at that with discernment to see how far they go into that and what they really speak about, or if they speak about an experience that they had. Because some people could be awesome, amazing people that just saw this crazy war in space and this part of their experience, but they're not really disinformation people, right?
Right.
So I think my answering your question has just made it more confusing. Like, I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm trying to figure it out as well.
Right.
But
Right.
ultimately, I know that extraterrestrials exist.
Yeah.
I know that they've been here for a long, long time, that we've come from them. We've been seeded on this planet, and this truth needs to come out. And our true ancient origins is really key, because the fact is that we've been going through cycles of consciousness every 26,000 years for God knows how long. We cannot even find Atlantis remains, even though we are, but they're saying they don't know what it is, and it could be something else.
Right.
We can't even find the remains of Atlantis, which was the last great civilization. There have been many other great civilizations on our planet, so imagine how many great civilizations we can't even see or even find. So if that's the case, and these civilizations have wiped themselves out, the true lesson lies in knowing what happened to them, what they did, and why they wiped themselves out. Because guess what? We're repeating a lot of those same mistakes again. So I feel that we need to learn about where we come from and what we did in the past so that we cannot repeat those same mistakes.
I love it. That's fantastic. And, to go back to that idea of discernment, and I love that word. I love that word. I think it's really important. Take everything with a grain of salt. I usually tell people, if I have an experience, it's just speculation. If so and so is telling me they were on a spaceship, and yeah, I'll believe that they believe they were there, but I wasn't there, so I'm going to speculate that they were there.
Right.
The same thing goes with all these ideas of invasion or anything like that. The collapse of the financial system or the rapture. All these ideas that come out there, and some of them are a little crazy, but some are not, and we have to kind of, like you said, use discernment, what aligns with our inner truth. And quite honestly, what I find also is that as we are going through this process, we might believe a specific story, quote unquote, and then years down the line, that story doesn't work for us anymore. It's kind of like changing our belief. So it's kind of like give ourselves our break, as long as we're not hurting anybody and they're not hurting anybody, but yeah, look out for the nuts and bolts because they probably won't be real spaceships. But
Right.
anyway, we're coming up on the end of the hour, Neil. Do you have? I like to end the show like this, especially when we're having a great talk like this. If you knew that everyone in the world was watching and listening right now, what would you want to tell them?
I would say that the time is now for full disclosure, that it is time to put our energy, whether it's our monetary energy or our time, into things in the world that would actually benefit ourselves and others. That we spend so much in this world of distraction, energizing things that have no benefit to us and just keep us completely lost in this perpetuated world of confusion and this downward spiral. What we really need is something that joins us together. That right now, spread this awareness. If you're looking at this and you know about this information, it's no longer time just to hold it in. It's time to speak and have these discussions. And if you don't know about this information, maybe it's time to start researching, because ignorance is bliss up to a certain point. But right now, the ignorance is not helping us. It's actually destroying and damaging a lot of people in the world. So it's time to be in the know so that we can create a new paradigm based on love, unity, and higher consciousness, not one based on lack and victimhood, which we've been in for so long. It has not served us. It's inevitable. The time is now for us to shift. We are heading up. We're coming out of the dark ages into the bronze, eventually going to the golden age. So do you want to jump on the ride, or do you want to be left behind? I don't think anybody's going to be left behind. The vibration is increasing so high that you don't even have a choice. You don't have a choice but to be empowered and love yourself and love others. And now is the time.
Now is the time. Thank you. Great words for us to end on. And of course, it's portaltoascension.org.
You got it.
Oh, good. And what days are the conference?
Sure. It's April 19th to the 23rd, 5 days in exactly 2 months from now.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Well, everybody, please do go check it out. Like I said, we're at the end of the show, and I just want to remind everybody that next week, I'm going to be finishing. I've been reading the Book of One on the radio. I'm going to be ending the book next week. You'll hear part 3. You can listen and join us live next week. We love you, everyone. Have a wonderful week. Remember to go find me on patreon.com/Bernard Alvarez. Have a great week, everyone. We love you. Bye-bye.